Do you say a lot when you speak English? Most people don't even notice it, but other people hear it every single time. The good news? This is not a grammar problem. It's not even really an English problem. It's fear, wearing a different face. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly why it happens and 3 simple practices to fix it, starting today. Let's get started. So, yesterday I was going to the market and I saw my friend there. Count how many times I just said Now, here's the strange part. You probably didn't notice most of them because you do the exact same thing and your brain has learned to ignore your own fillers. Other people don't ignore them. They hear every single one. This is not a grammar problem. It's not really an English problem at all. It's fear, wearing a disguise. And it can be fixed, starting right now. The real reason you say filler words are not really a language problem. They happen in the gap, the space between your mouth already moving and your brain still looking for the next word. There are 3 main reasons for this gap. It's almost always one of these 3. 1, you are translating before you speak. Your brain runs the sentence through your first language first, and is the sound of that detour happening in real time. 2, you are trying to build a perfect sentence before you say anything. You plan the whole sentence first instead of starting and letting the rest come as you go, so you get stuck before you even start. 3, silence itself feels wrong. Somewhere along the way, you learned that silence is embarrassing, so your mouth fills it with sound instead of letting it sit empty, even for half a second. Here is the simple fix. Remember this sentence. Silence is not a mistake. Filler words are. A pause says, I am thinking. A row of ums says, I am stuck. Same amount of time, a completely different impression. Here's an honest fact. Native English speakers use filler words too. Listen closely to any unplanned interview and you will hear like, you know, so, again and again. The goal is not 0 fillers. That's not realistic, and trying for it usually makes things worse. Here's why it makes things worse. If you focus all your energy on not saying you are adding a second job on top of speaking, watching yourself for one forbidden word in real time while also trying to build a sentence. That extra watching uses the same limited attention you need to actually find your words. So strangely, people who try hardest to stop saying often freeze even more, not less. The real goal is not perfect, silent, smooth speech. It's saying it less often and replacing the habit, swapping a meaningless sound for a real pause, or a short, real phrase that buys you the same time but actually says something. That is a very different, much easier goal than never say again. And it's exactly what the practices below are built for. Why silence feels scary? It helps to understand why your brain reaches for instead of just stopping. This makes the practices below easier to understand. A pause in a conversation can feel like confusion, or like you've lost interest, or like a break in connection. Your brain learned a long time ago to avoid this. Fill the gap. Keep things moving. Don't let silence happen. This habit is not only about English, it's why people fill silence in their first language too, just usually with shorter, quieter sounds. In a second language, this old habit meets a new problem. Finding words really does take longer, so the gap you are trying to cover is bigger. The filler stretches to match it. Instead of one quick, barely noticed sound. The habit is old and automatic, The gap it covers is new and bigger. This is exactly why fillers stand out so much more in a second language, even for people whose fillers in their first language would never be noticed.
Seen this way, the fix is not stop being nervous. It's two separate things. Make the gaps smaller through practice and teach your brain that silence does not mean disconnection, which is exactly what practice 3 below does when you sit in 5 seconds of silence and nothing bad happens.
The same sentence, 2 ways. Listen to this sentence 2 times. I think we should go now? I think we should go now. Version B has a clean 1-second pause where the fillers used to be. Notice it is also shorter. Fewer words, same meaning. And it sounds more confident. Not because the person suddenly knew more English, but because they let the pause be a pause instead of filling it with noise.
This is exactly what confident speakers and news presenters do. They pause. They don't fill. A pause sounds like someone thinking. A row of ums sounds like someone lost. Same silence, but a completely different impression, depending on what you put inside it. Nothing or noise. Fillers do not spread evenly across a conversation. They happen most in certain, predictable moments. Knowing your own pattern helps you catch them before they happen. The start of an answer, right after someone asks you a question, is the most common trigger point. You haven't had time to plan anything yet, and the pressure to answer right away is highest at this exact moment. Changing topics in the middle of a conversation is another trigger. Moving from one idea to a new, different one needs fresh thinking, and fillers often appear right at that seam, between the old idea ending and the new one starting. Numbers, names, and exact details, dates, prices, someone's job title, often cause fillers because these are exact one right answer items. There's no room to use a different word to get around a gap, unlike general vocabulary, where a similar word works just fine. An unexpected question, when it catches you off guard with zero preparation, causes the biggest filler clusters of all, because there was no time to prepare anything. If you know your own trigger points, you can prepare a bridging phrase just for them. If changing topics is your weak spot, practice saying, on a different note, or that reminds me, out loud a few times. These phrases do 2 jobs at once. They bridge the pause, and they signal the topic change clearly, so it sounds like planned structure, not a stall. Fillers often sound worse across a full answer than in just one sentence. Here is a longer, more realistic comparison. Filler-heavy version. So, basically what happened was, I was at work and my manager asked me to finish the report, but I didn't have all the information yet. So I told her I'd need another day. So basically, I was at work and my manager asked me to finish the report. The thing is, I didn't have all the information yet, so I told her I'd need another day. Notice the second version is not shorter because information was cut. It is the exact same information. It is shorter because the fillers added length without adding meaning. The 2 natural pauses, after basically and after the thing is, do the exact same job the 6 ums were doing, just without the noise. This is really the whole video in one comparison. Same content, same time, a completely different impression. 3 practices to build the habit. Practice 1, the clean pause. Say these 3 sentences out loud. Where you would normally say just stop instead. A real silent 1-second gap. I think we should leave soon. Honestly, I'm not sure yet. Give me a second. Let me think about that. Say each one 2 times. The pause will feel too long the first time. That's normal. It's not actually too long, it just feels that way because you're used to filling it. Practice 2. Catch yourself. Say a sentence on purpose with fillers in it. So, I was thinking about, and right after, redo the same sentence clean with no pause in between. This trains the real skill you need, catching yourself and correcting yourself in real time. Practice 3. Sit in silence on purpose. Count 5 seconds of complete silence out loud in your head while thinking of absolutely nothing to say. Just sit in it. The goal is not the counting itself. It's teaching your body that silence is not dangerous. So a real pause in conversation doesn't make you want to fill it with noise. Practice 4. Build your swap list. Silence works, but in a fast conversation, sometimes you need real words. Pick 2 or 3 of these and practice them out loud until they're automatic. Let me think for a second. How do I put this? That's a good question. Give me a moment. These are not fillers. They are real phrases that buy you the same time an buys, but they sound intentional instead of stuck. Use these on days when silence feels like too much, and use the pure pause from practice 1 on days it doesn't. You'll probably switch between both. That's normal, not a failure. Pause 2 seconds. Common mistakes people make? Only trying to fix it during real conversations. Real conversations are the highest pressure place to try. That makes them the worst place to build a brand new habit. Do practices 1 through 4 alone first, out loud with no listener, until the pause and swap phrases feel automatic. Only then bring them into a real conversation. 1. Pausing for too long. Some learners, once they learn pause instead of fill, go too far and leave 4 or 5 seconds of dead silence. This sounds genuinely lost, not thoughtful. A natural thinking pause is closer to 1 or 2 seconds. Practice with a real clock a few times so your sense of how long gets trained instead of guessed. Judging your progress from one bad conversation. One nervous, filler-heavy conversation does not mean the practices aren't working. It usually just means that conversation had more pressure than your practice sessions did. Judge your progress across a full week of recordings, not one high-pressure moment. Trying to remove fillers everywhere, all the time? An occasional in a relaxed chat with friends is completely normal and not worth worrying about. Save your focused effort for moments that are actually being judged. Interviews, presentations, first meetings, instead of trying to sound like a newscaster at dinner, which would sound stiff, not fluent. A simple week to build this in. Days 1 to 2, alone, out loud, do practice 1 5 times, using the 3 practice sentences. Time yourself once with a stopwatch so you know what a natural 1 to 2 second pause actually feels like. Days 3 to 4, add practice 4. Pick 2 swap phrases and practice them in your own sentences, not just the examples here, until they come out without thinking. Day 5, record yourself speaking for 60 seconds on any topic. Count your fillers. This is your starting point. Day 6, have one real low-pressure conversation and use a pause or a swap phrase instead of a filler at least 3 times, on purpose. Day 7, record the same 60-second exercise from day 5, same topic if possible, and compare your filler count. Most people see a real countable drop within 1 week, even before the habit feels fully natural. Day 3, what really changes after a few weeks? It's worth being honest about the timeline because expecting instant, permanent change will make you feel like it didn't work. In the first week, the biggest change is usually just awareness. You will start noticing your fillers in real time, mid-sentence. This actually feels a little worse before it feels better because you're now catching things you used to say without even thinking. That noticing is not a step backward. It's the necessary first step before you can actually change anything. By 2 to 3 weeks of steady practice, most people start using the swap phrases and clean pauses without trying. First in low-pressure conversations, and later in higher-pressure ones. Real high-stress situations, actual interviews, meeting someone important, tend to be the last place the new habit shows up reliably, simply because that's where the old fear reaction is strongest. That is expected, not a sign of failure. And realistically, fillers don't need to disappear completely to make a real difference. Going from a heavy, near-constant filler pattern to an occasional, natural one is already a big, noticeable change to anyone listening. You don't need to reach 0 to sound much more confident than you do right now.
Read these 2 versions out loud to yourself, or listen back if you recorded yourself doing practice 1. I think, we should, go now? I think we should go now. Which one actually sounds more confident to you, and why? Say your answer out loud. Saying it in your own words is what makes it stick. The one line to remember: a pause makes you sound like you're thinking. A filler makes you sound like you're stuck. From now on, pause, don't fill.
Fixing gives you smoother sentences, but smoothness doesn't help if the word you need never comes at all. Next time, how to actually remember the words you learn, so you stop going blank in the first place. Now, if this video helped you understand your own habit a little better, give it a like. It helps this video reach more learners just like you. And if you want to keep building your speaking skills step by step, subscribe and check the next video in our speaking skill playlist. Tell me in the comments, which trigger causes your fillers the most? The start of an answer, changing topics, a surprise question? I read every comment, so write it below. See you in the next video.